And then, so my parents, kind of even giving a backdrop, my parents met at MIT. Dad went to Stanford Biz, mom went to Rutgers for they both got a ME chemical engineering degree.
Wow,
ME.
A lot of smart people in your
man,
family.
Must be fool people, man. My older sister went to Stanford and Harvard Med School.
Wow.
Her went to Harvard Law, and my younger sister went to Stanford and Emory Med School.
That's
crazy. So I would say 2 doctors, a lawyer, and a rapper. Balanced out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So.
Everybody to the Speak Your Life podcast. My name is Andre Fluel and I'm your host. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast through Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts, and especially if you're on YouTube. We are looking to grow our YouTube channel. Not trying, we are just doing it. We are going to be at 1,000 subscribers by the end of summer. We want you to help us get there to that goal. It's a crazy goal, it's a big goal, but it's our goal. And so anyways, with that being said, today's special guest is all the way from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. And he is a Stanford man with a mechanical engineering degree, TEDx speaker, and he has been a host of PBS Arkansas show. And now he is the founder of I Am Not Them. Please welcome my friend, Big Piph.
What's up, man?
You feeling all right, man?
Cool, man. Appreciate you having me, bro.
Yeah. So, scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling?
10's like, give me what's the relative? What's 10?
So 10 is like highest of the high. 1 is like, I'm just not even there. I'm just not even there.
I tend to chill at 8.
Okay.
Pretty much normal, so it's like 8.
Yeah.
8's kind of like, is my good moment. And actually, that's what I prefer. Like, unless it's 9s and 10s, I reserve for like those special moments of like, it's that relative comparison. So like 8, so that's dope.
That's good. That's good. That's, I mean,
for sure, man.
Everybody, and I like to ask that question because like everybody's feeling different levels, because I feel like saying, hey, how's it going? I'm good. Like that's too simple for me. Like everybody's at different spectrums of like what is good, what is fine, what is like, I'm okay, or
right. And also the thing is with that, I answer that question sincerely. So like if I'm not doing well, I'll like say. And also when I ask people, like I don't mind, because it's become like just kind of a common phrase of just like you're just supposed to respond back. But I respond like, man, today sucks.
That's okay. Because some days do suck.
Right. It's like that's just human. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm working on being better, just being human, and not falling away from like expressing that. So
I feel that.
But today's dope, man.
There we go.
8 status.
There we go. Yeah. I appreciate that. I can appreciate the honesty. So you ready to speak your life?
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to be in a converse with you, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm excited too. Just reading through everything and stuff like that. I was just like, man, he has a lot on his resume. So
actually, no, it's funny. Even when we start off, I say mechanical engineer, I forget. Like, I don't forget, but it's kind of been so long. So yeah. So I've had an interesting life with like a few different turns. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So talk to us about that. So here on the podcast, we like to talk about the day you were born and that journey that's in between as to knowing why you were born. So give us that, if you don't want to give us a year, that's okay. You can give us the era, like what was going on in the country, culture, all that stuff.
Oh yeah, no man, I'm almost way too transparent. So like, so just making sure. So you want exactly? Because I'll give it to you for sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
Just start like where I'm from and how I've navigated to this point to a degree. Yeah, so I mean, the broad overview, I was actually born in Freehold, New Jersey. Moved when I was 7 because my parents had an entrepreneurship opportunity in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Yeah. Complete change up, so I moved when I was 7. And then, this is broad overstrokes, like, family's real, like, academic focused, you know what I'm saying? But we didn't know it because it was never, like, said it, but, like, on the cool, my mom might have been, like, a low-key tiger mom, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if you're familiar with what that means, like, okay, so tiger mom, I think it's normally affiliated with, like, I believe normally affiliated with, like, Asian culture in the sense of, like, moms who are, like, really drilling their students to be, like, stellar academically, right? Yeah. It's kind of, like, known, it's kind of, like, jokingly and sometimes seriously like known because they're like aggressive about it or whatever. So I'm kind of joking about it, even though my mom was slightly aggressive, but like, she was very much the person to say like, hey, and very much instilled in me like, it's okay as long as you do your best, you coach her. Now I found out later that she had an idea already what my best should be, so you know what I'm saying. She had expectations, but it was pretty much 2 older sisters, myself, and a younger sister, like an 8-year gap. So it was like sister 2 years, me. in like an 8-year gap, and we was just kind of a cool, like tight knit family in Pine Bluff.
Yeah.
And then so like my parents, kind of even giving a backdrop. My parents met at MIT.
Yeah.
Dad went to Stanford Biz. Mom went to Rutgers for like they both got a ME chemical engineering degree.
Wow,
ME.
a lot of smart people in your
Man,
family
well,
tree.
fool people, man. My older sister went to Stanford and Harvard Med School.
Wow.
Her went to Harvard Law, and my younger sister went to Stanford and Emory Med School.
That's
and
crazy.
So like, I would say, 2 doctors, a lawyer, and a rabbi. You know, balanced out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but once again, it was very much so on the cool, and I credit my parents a lot for this. It was just like, they really instilled like, just do your best, but be understanding like your best is stellar. You know what I'm saying? And so I didn't think anything about what I was doing because the model in my family was already kind of like, that was my norm. Even though I could like understood outside, but like in my house, it wasn't like I was like exceptional in any area. And not saying it in a negative way, it's just like, this is what you're supposed to do. So like my examples were them and how to move and how to live. So on that side, like a lot of in terms of what we were able to do academically and just kind of like professionally, it was just kind of like, it was great examples, which is why, and I know I'm jumping around, which is why like I really emphasize now, like why representation matters, like seeing people, you know, I've had friends and I've worked with students who's kind of like, you know, I didn't have an example of this, and this, and I realized I was a dope, blessed, also privileged to have seen that like in the house. So now it's like very big on like trying to provide examples for other people to see that. So it's just normalized, like it's like so exceptional becomes average, and then we just find a new exception. You know what I'm saying? So that answered none of your question.
No, we got a lot of bits and pieces here and there. We're gonna put the puzzle all together.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's cool. So it was you pretty much grew up like in the early '90s era, or the like kind of like the mid '80s.
Yeah, I was born. Yeah, exactly. I was born 79. So I'm 41.
Cool.
41. So I was roughly an 80s baby.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I graduated 9/7 from high school. 9/7. So it's like, you know, 80s, 90s. I was in college. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, that was I guess a little bit after, you know, Illmatic was put out in 94 and all that stuff. Yeah.
So for me, like if we talking hip hop, so like I was actually a little bit later bloomer to like I was always around when my parents were heavy like Stax and Motown. Yeah. And so the first thing that like, so it's funny 'cause a lot of people associate me who have like followed my artistry like with more East Coast with like Southern influence, but the first people that got me on was Suave House, 8-Ball and MJG when I heard Lay It Down. And it was because it was the musicality of it first, like, you know, Lay It Down, the bass line, doo-doo. And so the thing was, it was like, for those who know, Suave House would have live musicians come in there, and that was actually Jazzy Faye was like part of the original like Suave House. So like I don't know if you've heard the song like "Girls in the Club Show Love."
I've heard that song. I don't know the name of it, but I don't know who sings it either. But I heard that song.
Right, so that's T-Love from Suave House, produced by Jazzy Faye. So like Jazzy Faye had a reemergence with T.I. and all that, but he was way back then, and they were big on like, all right, we're rapping East Coast and West Coast doing the thing, but we like these grooves and pockets. So that was like my gateway drug because it was like the music got me, and then it was like how they were riding the beat. You know what I'm saying? It was like Sunday morning, I'm still on there from the night before. You know what I'm saying? So they had like it was like their flow for me was an extra instrument, and I was like, oh, I like this. Yeah. And then I had other homeboys come in and start dumping Nas and whatever. So it's like, because I had heard them before, but I didn't rock with them because I didn't really like East Coast beats that much. I didn't like the musicality, but once I had the inroad and found them, then they opened it up and my eyes were kind of like open to being able to be like, oh, okay, like I get this now. And then I became like a huge, like in that whole like East Coast era, you know, from the Nas and the J's and all that.
Yeah, wow, it's interesting because like, you know, East Coast is where, you know, where it all started. Yeah. And so everybody at the end of the day, I feel like in some way has to pay homage to East Coast. Like even if you're West Coast, Southern, like I think in the sense like we all have to remember like that's where the roots came from.
No, exactly. So it's like completely now. I mean now because also nowadays like I do so much in the realm. You know what I'm saying, from artistry to like education to just like culture ambassadorship. So I mean I'm fully immersed in like niches of niches now, you know what I'm saying? I go deep, but I was just like, it took something to be my entryway to then be like, okay, I get it. You know what I'm saying? And I see it all the time now. Like I'll talk to parents, I'll talk to people who are like outside the culture. Okay, like I can't get this, or whatever. And then they'll have something that opens it up for them. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like it's and it's kind of like a lot of other stuff. So for instance, like and I appreciate it for this, but also sometimes I also get a little like peeved. But like it's like when Hamilton, right? So it's like I saw Hamilton with the original cast, and it's like they're in the audience is not what you call your prototypical like hip hop fans, right? And then it's kind of like all of a sudden people are like, oh, this is different, whatever. It's like, nah, it's hip hop. This is just your gateway. Like the gateway is because you watch plays, you watch musicals, you like reading on this subject. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times people who are like talk about, you know, it's inaccessible or the
can't relate to.
It's like you're just like looking in the wrong places, or you just haven't found the right thing to open your things, or you just kind of also being a hater because anything else, it works for tons of stuff. Like it's like physics opened up to me because I started like once you made it like real based as opposed to theoretical, right? So it's like people have things that open up the path, all types of careers and stuff like that. So for me, that's how I was in hip hop, and it's kind of like a parallel to another stuff. It's like you just gotta find the entryway. You find the entryway, man. Like it's a whole new world.
Wow. Yeah, that's really cool. And you know, it's, you know, you found the entryway through, you know, you went to school, you went to Stanford, you know, got the Cardinal dripping right here. And so like, you know, I think you had talked about in one of your interviews, like about how you, even though you went to Stanford and all this stuff, you pursued another path and you ended up becoming the hip hop adventurer. Like tell us about how you got that name and how that came about.
Right. So I guess that going back to all the stuff I skipped. So Pine Bluff was a drastically different place than Stanford. Just giving to understand, Pine Bluff is like, you know, heart of the Delta, which is known for like its kind of lesser education. And Pine Bluff, unfortunately, like always kind of is like was on like lists of like, you know, hardest places to live in America and stuff.
Banging in the Rock.
And Pine Bluff is kind of like always. Pine Bluff is a real challenging. I'm loving that I'm from there, still trying to do initiatives there, and it's like I would have not want to be from any other place, but just had a few more challenges in other cities or whatever. So I say all that to say, one, give a little bit more background about myself, but also Stanford was a great juxtaposition to that because Pine Bluff was predominantly black, like say 80-20. It was almost like just black and white. Stanford was this whole just mesh of diversity in next to like one of the most affluent cities in the world, right? You know what I'm saying? So going from that to that was cool, but I also kind of came with a different, I guess, vibe, you know what I'm saying? And so it's kind of like just finding myself. At the time, and I say this story a lot, but like, one of my biggest fears was actually public speaking, right? And so it was like a fear of being in front of people. So I actually was trying to get over that fear, which is why I rap. I entered a talent show my junior year, not because I wanted to rap, but I was like trying to get over this fear. And I did it, and it's like completely nervous, did all right, whatever. But I realized like I was giving, like all that fear was me giving people power of judgment. Like I was giving them power because of their judgment, but that they didn't earn, right? Like nobody earned the right to have me not be myself on stage. And so I did it like once or twice, broke through, and as I broke through, what happened was I was already in love with hip hop. But then I became like kind of like cool with like being in the public. So like that married with the love of hip hop is actually why I started pursuing the path to rap. So still to this day, like if you were to find somebody before college and before like high school, including myself, like nobody would say I'd be doing this. Like because it wasn't even on my radar. Like actually wasn't even like I would speak out against like entertainment, all the faults and potholes in that. It was just the fact that once I found that path and those two things married, it became that. So I decided I wasn't like, by the time I decided I was going to rap my senior year, I had only written 3 raps. Like it wasn't like I had bars for days. It was just the fact of I could figure this out. And so I did that post-graduation for just solely an artist, but sometimes doing other stuff in communities or whatever. But it was 2012. I got asked to go to Gambia, Banjul, Gambia. And after I was kind of like a cultural ambassador. I did programming, taught, panel discussions, music, creating music with the locals, and performing in front of like 7,000 people. Then I came back and went on sabbatical to kind of like find my purpose in life. Like I was been rapping for them almost close to 9 years, whatever, and I was like trying to figure out like, should I continue this?
Yeah.
And then what kind of spoke to me was, dude, you create, when you create, I'm the best version of myself, right? So stop placing so much of it on acclaim in other places or affirmation by certain positions, as opposed to the fact of like create because that's who you are and that's what you do and that's what you do well. Now be more intentional in terms of how to make this a more flourishing business.
Sure.
But also understand that your goals now 10 years deep don't have to look exactly the same as it was 10 years before, right? And that's what a lot of indie artists get caught on. They're chasing something that was their vision 15 years ago, not understanding that it might have shifted. So I really understood what my shift was, and that's when I realized like I like figuring out how to do hip hop culture, not just rapping, but like hip hop culture and all the takeaways and what I learned from that made me become a better person. And how to use that to empower communities. And so that's kind of when like the second phase of my career began. And I think I'm shifting to like a third now, but like that's where it became was like a lot more community oriented. Started doing speaking, developing workshops, while still understanding, man, I got bars, I can put them out there and make an album. You know? So that's kind of what that became. And then that developed, that same year I went back to Africa, Mauritius and Seychelles. And now between 2012 and then I've done work in 10 countries.
Wow.
Just different community work, and then I've had Global Kids Arkansas, so programming. And the root of it is still like, for me, hip hop culture, like it's very much, that's the base. Like it's like, people used to always say like, are you gonna do this or that? You know what I'm saying? It's like, you're not seeing yet that I'm making them one the same. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man, that's pretty awesome. So you talked about different phases and you feel like you're in phase 2. So would you say that phase 1 was like strictly rapping? Phase 2 now is kind of like a little bit more expanded, trying to be more of an influencer in a sense of hip hop in the hip hop spaces, and just trying to take that and empower people by speaking and at just different events and empowerment. And do you, I guess my question was, do you feel like you know yet what your phase 3 is, or is that on the horizon just yet, or you're still figuring that out? Yeah,
so I actually would say I'm in phase 3 now. So phase 1, like you said, was like, although I did a few other things, it was predominantly just rapping, right? Like I've done a distribution deal, I've had the weird rap beat, you know what I'm saying? I've done the textbook stuff, you know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Then phase 2 was like that 2012 to I would say roughly like 2019, where it was like learning where my pocket was and how to make this also have some community impact, right? And I would say that was like that next phase. Where I am right now is where I am right now is a phase of like I understand. I feel I understand how to make creative pieces and also have them directly have impact in the community. So it's almost like the culmination of the two, right? So it was like before I was doing community programs and it was kind of like, all right, this is this MC doing it. Now I believe I know how to make like, what I always say like now is like I aim to make the dopest, empowering content and programming that's like hip hop culture based, right? But there's not a separation of them anymore. It's like, so for instance, just give an example. If I made like and this is not saying I'm doing this now, but like if I made a movie like on a large scale, it's like, all right, how to do that and employ the people in this community and also set up this system so like even when I leave, they now have this sustainable like whatever creator studio. You know what I'm saying? So then kind of what you're creating you're creating kind of like an ecosystem where it's like I create an entertainment piece, right? An entertainment piece that's gonna go out to mass world, but also in its trailer and its path to get there, you also created like jobs and like economic influx. You know what I'm saying? So stuff like that, or one thing kind of like I am doing is like so even with the thing like with my hosting, that came from I'm hosting a show on like Arkansas PBS, which is The Glow. That came from,
that's right.
I had a one-man show first, right? The one-man show was called The Glow, and I described it as if TED Talk was a hip-hop concert wrapped in a Spike Lee narrative. It was a 90-minute show on stage, whatever, woo, woo, woo. But then it also becomes, that directly translates to Arkansas PBS show where I directly utilize it. We directly utilize it to highlight entrepreneurs and creatives. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, this, which was a creative piece, is now like highlighting other people and adding influx to that, which also then gives me a greater platform, which also can allow me to fundraise over here. So it's like, it's now no longer these separate pieces that playing upon each other, right? And doing community work gets me more opportunities for in the creative field, right? There's no longer now like it's Kool-Aid now, you know what I'm saying? It's no longer like
mixed up together.
Yeah, like you can't separate that junk back out. And so the third phase is really now, and this is stated plain and simple, I'm focused on now like wealth building, right? So I realized up until maybe a year ago, I've never focused directly on like, let's get these monies, right? Yeah. It's more so been like, I'm gonna do this and we're gonna figure out the dough, but one way or another, we're gonna do this, whatever. Now it's like, no, we're gonna get some monies. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We're playing for the dollars. Yeah. Because it's a resource like everything else, right? Whether you have human resource, you have time's a resource, you have like whatever spiritual resources, natural resources,
networking.
Yeah, so it's kind of, exactly right. So it's like these dollars, in terms of larger vision, are going to allow more doors and opportunities open. So like, let's get this dough so we can build this, as I say to my mind, boutique empire. To like, now that we know what we're doing, like let's 100x it, because that's just how we can have more power and influence. So that's kind of where I'm at now, man, in the phase 3.
Nice. And like, what are some ways and examples that you would give? You know, before I say that, I'll say this. What are some, for people who are maybe in the phase 1 that you are in, where you're strictly in the hip hop industry, just strictly rapping, what would be some practical advice that you would give to people who are entering in it, and you're, like, maybe some gems that you wish were dropped on you by some OGs that, you know, were there, but maybe didn't give it to you? What would be some of those gems that you would drop to them, pass on to the next generation?
Yeah, like, for sure.
Things they should be aware of, or I don't know, just some advice.
Right. No, definitely. And this is, I would say, is whether they're an artist or not. Like, just kind of like in just entrepreneurship, right? First, really understand your obligations, right? So I say that because sometimes I'll talk and I realize I'm talking from a person who's like single with no kids. Like, there's a difference between like out in the streets promoting or whatever, when you're single versus having a child. Because one of them is like you grinding, and the other one is like, man, you're just a bad parent. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like understanding your obligations, and that does dictate a lot. But also really truly understand your obligations, because a lot of stuff we think we have to do, we don't. You know what I'm saying? And I like emphasize that, like it's really simplifying, like really what do I have to do? Because it's kind of like people be like, I gotta go here this weekend, I gotta go there. Like, do you? You know what I'm saying? Like, because if you had this like large ambitious vision, do you really have to do that? Because once again, time's a resource. Your energy's a resource. So really understanding like, oh, I'm obligated to make sure my daughter has some Cheerios. I get that. You know what I'm saying? You're not necessarily obligated to go over here and like have to like, just because such and such is in town, do that and so on and so forth. Unless that is your top priority. So one is like really understanding your obligations. Another is I think I got like just 3 off the top of my head. The second one is kind of like more or less like really structuring. Take it back. Before that, if you had the time and the resources, just experiment a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like straight up say yes to a whole bunch of stuff to figure out where you may lie. So for instance, if I never would have just like tried to get past public speaking, I would have never like found that I love like creating hip hop. You know what I'm saying? It was the fact of I was in a phase of life of I'm gonna try this out. You know what I'm saying? Also, I can look back and realize how much stuff I didn't get done or how much stuff I left on the table because I was like, no, too much. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. I gotta figure it out. So I would say if you have the resource and opportunity and leeway, like just do stuff until you like, because you'll start figuring it out. Like when you start doing, like there's a statement, action breeds clarity. You know what I'm saying? Like, like, I like that. You can I can tell you about like, I can give you a book on Cambodia. I can show you like documentaries, but it won't be the same if I throw you over there.
Going over
you know what I'm saying?
Experience.
Yeah, exactly. Like you run around and you realize like from the smells to the taste to the food, you know what I'm saying? Like all that's different. Yeah. So it's just like run around, figure it out. Then once you do, like put together a little plan. Okay. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, and I say it's like I talk to myself saying things like, in a regular job, you'll be have to like put together a plan to get to where you're going. Like it's part of your like, and then like it's like part of the agenda. It's part of the agenda. Like you're gonna have a meeting and once a week. You know what I'm saying? Talk about like where are we in these milestones, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But then
quarterly meetings.
Exactly. Then we get to do stuff ourselves and be like, man, I'm just kind of like gonna figure it out, my G. And you're like, all right, you know what I'm saying?
Your business is gonna crash.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like same thing. It's like now that you've figured out what your obligations are, now that you've like sorted around, figure out where you want to go, like put together a plan and like measure it, like quantify it, like look back and do it. So it's like treat your craft, whatever that is, like treat it like a business. It's once again, it's funny because I say it's like even in relationships, it's like we'll be like relationships so important, and then we just kind of like free flow through that junk versus like, hey, are we growing in this way? Have we done this and so on and so forth? So it's like, man, like play to win. And so I call myself very readily like some of my largest mistakes was because I didn't do these things. You know what I'm saying? I didn't do them in entirety. So like there were certain potholes I hit that really set me back. Because I didn't do that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And then I think the fourth one, because like I think I'm really big on like in this third phase on like just like self-care and like mental health is like figure out sooner and later how to manage your mental quirks and be at peace with them. So what I mean is like anxiety or like stress. Like so you asked me at the beginning of this thing like how I feel. I'm like level 8, right? Overall, like I feel dope, whatever, right? Now we start going like particular situations. Some of them jugs might be a 2, my G. You know what I'm saying?
That's okay.
Right, that's cool. But there was a point in my life where the 2 dictated my 8. So if you would ask me how I'm doing, if I was for real, I'd be like, man, I'm like at a 4. You know what I'm saying? But it's like I know how to better compartmentalize and manage those pockets so it doesn't define the overall
scope.
So I just know like in the career what I've done, which is arguably supposed to be enjoyable, there's been too many artists, including myself, who at key times were like just down bad. But it was because we didn't know how to manage our anxiety. We didn't know how to manage like communication. We didn't know how to manage like de-stress. We didn't know how to like kind of, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like figure out how to be the dopest you. And it just makes it makes the career just so much more fun. Like I'm enjoying. Like this week I've been putting together proposals and scratching out like working on this new kind of like show I'm working on. And there was a point in my life, maybe like 10 years ago. Maybe a little bit before that, where I would have been like, it had me stressed. Now it's like, dude, I enjoy the journey. You know what I'm saying? Like, I heard LeBron talking about, it's like, don't get me wrong. When one of my shows premieres or album drops, whatever it is, that's a different high when you kind of see it, whatever. But it used to be the journey and the high was like ridiculously distant. You know what I'm saying? Now there's so much more closer. Like I like not knowing what I'm doing. Like I'm writing this show and I don't know what I'm doing, bro. And like I like the fact of like I'm gonna figure this out. You know what I'm saying? Because I enjoy that process more. And it's kind of like that's because I think I've done better in like self-care and like manage like stress and just life issues better, man. So I like, you know, those first 3 things were career, entrepreneurship. The other one's like personal, but that's how you make it better, man. Like, bro, all of us, this is me going tangent, baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally the only thing guaranteed we have in life is death, right?
And taxes.
And taxes, right? And you can run from that and then you get to death quicker. You know what I'm saying? But like, you got like death. So it's like, literally you just have this moment. So how could you optimize this moment to be as best possible? Not saying all moments are gonna be great. But it's just saying like, since you only had this, how to figure out to have that be as best as possible. And I'm still in that process, but like since I've grown in that area, man, junkie dope, bro.
All right, that's a perfect time to switch that over. But yeah, that's really good. And I remember how you talked about earlier, earlier you were mentioning obligations and stuff like that. Do you feel like, you know, knowing that you don't have like a family of your own just yet, but just like, do you feel like you were at a point where you had taken on so many things that felt like obligations that were really not yours to take, because I think, the reason why I say this is because sometimes people mention things that are important to them that maybe they experience personally. So that's why I brought that up.
Yeah, could you give me an example? Because I want to make sure I answer.
Okay, so so basically, I remember you mentioned earlier, out of the 4 points, number 2, not to go too far back, but just something that really stuck with me, because it is something that I gravitate towards, was when you mentioned not taking on obligations that are not your own. And do you feel like there was a point, maybe phase 1 or phase 2 of your life, where you were taking on a lot of obligations that were not your own, and then you learning through experience that my time is valuable, maybe I need to stop taking on these things that are not really my responsibilities?
Yeah, so I would rephrase what I was trying to say in the sense of not just, I want to say, is obligations not your own, but also obligations that don't have to be obligations, right?
Okay.
So it's like let's say this is one like, and this is probably a controversial one, people might disagree. Let's say I had a podcast and then I invite you on the next. But say you really had a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
But you'd be like, you can't mind. Also, you ask me, whatever, I'm obligated to go. I would say, no, you're not. I would say, like, you could tell me no. I might feel some type of way, but like, older me would have been like, if the tables would turn, I'd have been like, okay, I gotta make that happen. So then it's kind of like, I could have this crazy week next week.
Yeah.
Already was stressing about that. And now I'm like, okay, now I gotta make it. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I go on Andre's podcast.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like,
I'm glad you came though.
Yeah, no. So yeah, right. No. Like that's what I'm saying. I'll say like more so if it flip for sure.
No.
Don't delete me. Don't delete me.
We're taking this episode down, y'all.
This is gonna be another one going 338 to 340. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so I'm saying
that makes
like,
sense, though.
it's just like there was a point in time where I was ambitiously dumb in the sense of like I could make it happen, whatever. And I would take on so much, whether it was other people's stuff or whether just saying yes to everything. One of the most powerful things I've learned, and this is definitely not me, is just the power of the word no.
No.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because like I literally now be like, nah, I'm good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'll express it kindly, but it's just like I understand.
Yeah.
I don't have to do like all that, not because once again that affects my self-care, it affects my energy that I need for whatever I was doing over here, so on and so forth. And that's why I say when you understand like what you're playing towards, it helps you discern. You know what I'm saying? Like what you can say no to. It's like, hey, if we're going across the our goal is to run across the street, and someone's like, hey, let's come over here and kick it at this party like on the same street. Yeah. It's like, hold up, but my goal is to like. Party could be lit, you know what I'm saying? My goal is to make it across the street. Okay, you know what I'm saying? If I had that goal set, it's like, oh, okay, I need to go across the street. No, I don't have to do that. So it's just kind of like just clearly understanding this is what I'm playing for. And I don't mean always just like playing it for in terms of like quantifiable goals. It could be like I'm playing for, well actually, yeah. So like even if you say well-being of your family, like think about what does the well-being of your family mean? Well, I'm playing for like, right now to have the most enjoyable time of ever in my early 30s, right? So it's kind of like if that's a goal, like kick it, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like just getting that and then understanding was before I was said I was playing for a goal, but all the stuff I was taking on actually disagreed with me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I say I'm doing this, but I say I'm going over here. Okay. But I take on all types of stuff from over here and over here. So really, I ain't really going nowhere. I'm just kind of like
you away from what you really wanted to do.
I ripped off my subscapular extended, my bicep came out, right? Dang. And I had to do this physical training. And one of the trainers said to me was, don't mistake motion for progress. So a lot of times we moving, but we ain't like going to the right spot.
I'm busy, but ain't doing nothing, not productive at all.
Yeah, like you say you're doing that, so it's like that's why nowadays like a lot of times I'm like I'm busy now. It's like, but I'll tell them like I'm a good busy. I'm in a very good busy state right now. It's like I got a lot going on, but it's exactly what should be going on. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. And then sometimes it gets not good busy, and I'll try to catch myself. True. Analyze what I got going on. Be like, oh, okay, that's why I'm tripping. this first trip. You know what I'm saying?
And the reason why I brought that up is reeled that point back in is because something that I personally related to through college and even thereafter, like just having something in mind, a goal in mind that I wanted to pursue, but then taking on all these different tasks, trying to appear busy, give the perception that I was important or, you know, all that stuff, when really just trying to, it took so much work to make it seem like and make people perceive that I was important in doing something big. That took way much more work than doing the work itself to get to that goal.
Especially out here in Atlanta. I remember when I first came here.
Yeah.
And like, look, I was already to a point in Trip, but it's like everybody like lets you know what they doing, how they big and important.
Yeah.
And they asked me, I'm like, oh man, I just gotta be, you know, around. Cause it's kind of
exactly. Ain't
right?
Nothing next.
Yeah. And at first you almost fall for it, and you kind of see the behind the scenes, be like, he's regular like me. So I listen to a lot of podcasts, not as good as your own, but I listen to a lot of podcasts. And there was one I heard recently. This cat who used to be he's a jiu-jitsu champion. I used to be a chess champion, whatever, right?
Nice.
And he was talking about now in jiu-jitsu, he's like, I move slower, but I get there first. Right? So it's kind of like, he's like, I'm in such an understanding and optimized state.
Yeah.
Where I used to have to like think I'm moving all fast, I'm gonna beat you. He's like, I can, with my opponent, I can literally like be slower than them and beat them to every move.
Dang.
You know what I'm saying?
I like that.
And it's just kind of like, that's how I think about it now. So it's like, man, I'll be like, bruh, this week, there's a few times this week, and I know I got a lot going on, and I like, it hit about 8, and I was like, I think I'm caught up for the day. Which if you know me, is not a thing I say a lot. Like, it's almost like always playing catch up, always playing to catch up.
Yeah,
and that morning I would have told you like, this day's gonna be crazy. But come 8:30, I'm like, wait, hold up though. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like I'm finally moving to a state where it's like, I'm doing less but getting there quicker.
I like that. That's good, because I was watching Lewis Howes. Shout out to Lewis Howes. I love his podcast, and he was interviewing Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, and he was asking Kevin like what made him successful. And Kevin was referring to a lady that he referred to that kind of, he took some tips from her, and one of the things that she said was writing a list of things down for the day and just doing those things, like committing to those things, not just saying like, because like I think there's like a couple ways people can go about this that they end up not being successful. Just conquering the day, forget about what you're doing for a year and, you know, the 10-year plan, just for the day. They write down their goals, and they may not, you know, hit all of those things because they're, you know, messing with all these other things and people are just taking their attention here and there. Or they are people who, I think I need to do this, or I think I need to do that, and they're like, their brain is scattered, and there's no written plan. There's no like, and my professor in economics back in college once said, short pencil better than long memory. And ever since he said that, it like connected the dots of like this episode here that I'm listening to. I'm like, this makes so much sense now. I'm like, let me write down, even though like I have a good memory now as a young person, but still let me write down the stuff because it helps me to stay focused. All right, I know I can't focus too much time on task 1 because I got 3 other tasks to finish for today.
I'm completely in agreement with that. Like, look, I'm be clear, I'm not saying this, but I'm not like, in terms of what people consider smart, I'm not that smart.
Says the guy from Stanford. Says the guy from Stanford, mechanical engineering. I don't want to hear that.
But here's why. It's very right. So with that said, So here's why I think I do well.
Okay.
And here's why I think I'm even getting like much better at now. Right. What I think I did well before to get into like Stanford and actually do all right there was just the fact of I would. Even before I would contextualize, I would like set these goals and then be like, I'll just like work extra hard. So I know I learn by making mistakes, right? So first midterm, I bomb. Second midterm, a little bit better. Finals, because it's normally just a recapitulation of the whole stuff, I kill it. Because it's like, I've made that mistake, so on and so forth. So that's definitely how I learn. But in terms of what I do better now is I just really minimize what I'm supposed to do. So like you said, every night, well, for the week. Saturday I make my own schedule for the week, but every night I'll like refine my schedule for the next day. And now I will only have 3 major things on there.
Okay.
If it's more than 3, it's not real to me, right? Okay. So if I have 4, something's not real.
Okay.
Like something's not real. Like it's like, because it's like almost like that 4th one is too much. So I really have to think about like what is really important for tomorrow, and then it goes back to what I was saying before. What is the goal? You know what I'm saying? So for instance, just to break it, because I love like pragmatic stuff. This is like stuff I get when I like listening to podcasts. So it's like I have my work life divided into 3 buckets: creative, community. I call it business, community, and creative, right? So business, that's what I like. I like groceries, right? So it's like that's what pays for the groceries, whatever, right? So that bucket is like these items all have to have ROI, or ROI rather. You know what I'm saying? Like they have to have return on investment for me doing them. So that's booking stuff, whatever, consulting, blah blah blah. Okay. This community bucket could have some return on investment, but it's more so like I really believe this impacts the community in some sort of way.
Intrinsic return on investment, not extrinsic.
Yes, exactly, right? And that's that bucket. So that bucket is not quantified by dollars back. It's not quantified by like how I get to let my creative brain flow, even though those 2 things do play into it.
That's true.
The 3rd bucket is creative, and it's pretty much like, this is the thing I can do that I feel the most like myself that's ambitiously creative. Okay. Now, it can later on make me money, and it can later on impact the community, but it's right here, like, this is that. And so, ideally, as stuff progresses, it hits all 3. Sure. But that's like my bucket. So now that I have these 3 buckets, when I define my tomorrow, normally there's one in each bucket. So it's like, tomorrow I'm doing this is the goal. Tomorrow I'm doing this for community, that's the goal. Tomorrow I'm doing this for business, that's the goal. Yeah. And so I just have like simple pockets. When I reach the end of that pocket, it's like, cool, like let me see if I really need to spend some extra time, or can I move this to tomorrow? And like now that I do that, like, and keep in mind, like, as simple as that sounds, it's like, of course, like you should do that, whatever. Like, I've really just been really in that pocket for that for like the last 3 or 4 years. And strangely enough, most importantly to me is like I feel better every year, right? But then also I get actually better in other resources as well. But for me, it's like my life has improved since I've started doing these things. And once again, for me, it's just like simplifying, like understanding. As superheroes I once thought I was, I really can't do like 15 for real major things in a day. You know what I'm saying? It's literally 24 hours, and I can't do like 15 major things. If I'm doing 15 major things in a day, then I'm not doing one thing well.
Yeah, to become the jack of all trades or a master of something.
Yeah.
That's the question. So, you've done a lot of things. You studied at Stanford. You've been to, different countries around the world, and stuff like that. I think you have a lot of competency in a lot of areas, but what is maybe an embarrassing moment that you've had in your career that you feel comfortable sharing?
Oh, bro, we got like pick a category, like embarrassing. So this is like more so business, right?
It could be business. It could be on the stage. It could be, I don't know, like just through your journey, like that really kind of shaped you, really. Okay, cool. That helps to shape me, right? So to be clear, I take hella L's, like like bro. Same here. Specialize in them,
bro. So I always say, like, I keep a failure resume, like words like, you know what I'm saying. This is from 2012, 14. He was a 12. You know what I'm saying. So like on stage, I've been booed. You know what I'm saying. Yeah. I've forgotten words, whatever. So like from creatively like that. In terms of the one, I'll pick one that like in terms of a culmination. Sure. I had this project was like going to be an app-based project, and it was like the raise like, I think like 17,000 through Kickstarter for it, and like put in like a huge amount of my own money. Yeah. And did this thing was supposed to be like an innovative, first of its kind, like app-based story album, blah blah blah. Yeah. That jump was trash. Like it was like, so people will say like, oh, but this was cool because the album came out of it, and a lot of people like that music. Yeah, yeah. But in terms of what. And I don't actually subscribe to the fact there's no like failures, because it was like this was the goal. Yeah. I ain't hit that goal. I took an L. So it's like I did not accomplish what I thought. Now what I learned from it was, one, I was trying to do too many things. So after that project was when I really started refining, because I was like I was having to make an app. I was making 12 videos. I was having to record an album. I was like trying to launch it to a community-based event, you know what I'm saying? And I was still speaking or whatever. So it was like 7 things, whatever, right? Another aspect I learned from it was that at one particular point, I remember I was like, the whole week was sleeping 2 hours a day, and I had to go like a 4-hour drive to pick somebody up and then drive 4 hours back for the shoot.
That's
and leave.
crazy.
And it was like pouring down rain. And I was like in an ultimate like complaining mode. But I also told myself like, bruh, you literally have a job where you create the stuff that's in your head. Like, stop, we don't pity you. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, so even though, and if this is too much, then be safe and healthy. But like, you're not supposed to be like, oh, I've created this job and opportunity living this thing and complaining about how hard and what was me. So for me, it was a self-check. It was like, bro, like when this junk gets hard, that's part of the game I created.
Yeah.
Because I work out, and working out is resistance to gain strength and muscle mobility, whatever. Like, this is just the workout, bro. Like, this is the game you put. Like, nobody forced you to do this. Like, nobody. You could easily tomorrow get that other job if you wanted to, but you keep choosing this. So like, it allowed me to enjoy the process more. Not saying once again I was supposed to then be like, yeah, I love riding out in the rain. It's like, but no, it's not woe is you mode. Be all right. Another huge one from that was, every day we would film, something would go wrong, right?
Yeah.
Every day. So it was kind of, and I would like be crushed when it happened. So I was like, look, if the unpredictable is predictable, then prepare for it. So what I told myself was, tomorrow is almost guaranteed something's gonna go wrong. Can't tell you where it is, right? But when it happens, give yourself 5 minutes to trip, and then tell yourself, man, I can't wait to see what wonderful idea I come up with this time. Right? Because what studies have indicated, stress isn't the problem of like all these disorders and illnesses. It's your response to stress.
That's right.
Right? So like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So like when I had booked this whole thing on like this trolley car and all stuff was supposed to happen. Called the people that gave me the clearance, and we got there that day and it was a sign of like the trolley's not running. So keep in mind, I literally spoke to the lady like the whole week. She's like, yeah, it's fine. So I like was mad. I don't have people coming in and out of town, whatever, whoop. And so like when it happened, I gave myself 5 minutes and I literally said out loud, Piph, can't wait to see what great idea you come up with. And we came up with an idea and kept it moving. So like, that's how I respond to a lot of stuff now. Is like, I separate real problems from like minor issues. So in the sense of, I ask myself a question, will you remember this as a problem a week from now, a month from now, right? So if I stub my toe, it hurts. If I let it stub my toe and throw off my whole day, I literally won't remember stubbing my toe a week from now, right? There are some like huge issues and they deserve that time, but other ones was like that. It's like, nah, bro, like this is cool. Figure it out, you know what I'm saying? Figure your little emotionals, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Shed your little thug tear and like finish this up. So I really start compartmentalizing like what are real issues and problems that should throw you off versus not. And I found out like 90% of stuff I was encountering ain't real. Like I was just I was giving stuff power that did not deserve it.
First world problems, that's what we call those.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But yeah, that's so true. Like I once heard Elon Musk say that, imagine if a bank has $86,094, right? And somebody came in and stole $10, right? You still have $86,084. Is the bank gonna just shut down because somebody stole $10?
Yeah.
No. So in the same way, if somebody, somebody that you encounter, maybe you have like an argument or maybe a disagreement, or I don't know, they just call you out of your name, flick you off, because you cut them off in traffic or something like that. I don't know. But are you going to allow that person that took 10 seconds of your life, or 80, out of that 86,000 seconds that you have in the day, are you going to allow that 10 seconds, the $10 to destroy your whole bank, your whole, your whole day? Like, why would you allow that? Yeah. And so many times we allow that person who stole the $10, the 10 seconds, to just ruin the whole day, and turn our 8s or our 9s of a day into a 2 or to a 4. Man, so no, I definitely feel that. I like, you articulate that quite well. And I think
read about like that kind of example before.
Yeah.
Like and now it's to a point where for myself, like, man, life inevitably is gonna give you something incredibly hard to bear. Yeah. Like, you don't have, like, guaranteed to keep living, something's gonna happen. Mm-hmm. I'll wait on life to pop with these real problems versus me, like, making stuff up that's not really there. So it's like, like, on the way here, I was like, oh, it's traffic. Like, okay, cool, disturbance, whatever. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, so now, and you know what I'm saying? I'm saying all this now, and tomorrow you're gonna see me on like some like a TikTok, like flipping out of some little kid. Like that. But now, like, it's really hard to kind of get me off of a state of an 8. Like I stay on my 8 because life's gonna give me a time where I gotta drop down to a 4 or 5. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I'm not gonna beat life there. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna be like, you know, they be like, don't meet me there. Be life, you gotta catch me and bring me down. But till then, like, so much of this junk ain't real. It's only real because we give it the power to be so. So, like, I have responsibility and ambition and obligations and a vision, and there's certain people work with me and kind of dependent on me. I can hold all that while still understanding that I can move in a state of peace.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. And because it's one thing to, you know, navigate through life and you have a lot of these different things that you're trying to accomplish and you're trying to do, but sometimes people are operating, sometimes we operate through those things without a lack of peace, and without that lack of peace, that's like that piece of the puzzle that is able to allow us to optimize our level of productivity or are able to provide value to whether we're doing community service or give our all, to give our full selves to the moment, to people around us and stuff like that. But I think sometimes, you know, like you kind of mentioned, when we allow maybe something or someone to disrupt our peace, that's really big. And people don't realize how big peace is. You know, you talked about mental health earlier. That's so key to just maintain inner peace despite what's going on around you, because true peace is not just the absence of conflict or the absence of bad things happening or a storm in life. It's really the mindset and just the reaction, or really the response, really, to the bad things that are inevitably going to happen that you can't control.
And I would also even argue and this is, I'm saying this now and I haven't thought it all the way through, so like I may completely shoot you take later on.
Shoot it out there.
Yeah. Almost kind of looking at pieces almost like it's despite everything, highs, lows. So it's like despite the storm, despite the tragedy, despite the accolades, despite the elation, it's so like whatever it is, it's a fact of like, oh, this is like I am my best self in this moment, and my best self also has ebbs and flows, highs and lows. It's like, but despite all of that, you know what I'm saying? Because I would say when you're not in peace, those things come in and you change up drastically, right? It's kind of like you're all over the place. But like since I feel like I've been in peace and been increasing it, it's like the things come and it's like, okay, I'm still me and understand like in my, you know what I'm saying, Zen or whatever you want to call that job. But so I think it's my working idea. It's like kind of despite everything that may come, it's still just, okay, I'm my best me.
Yeah, I like that. And so, you know, as we wrap things up, you know, we like to talk here in the podcast about describing life like a house. And so if life was a house and before everything else got constructed, you know, what is one foundational piece that your house, your life is built on?
Yeah, so I say this for me. Yeah, I think I got this one. So for me, and it's some of what came from like my earlier religious that then turned to spiritual beliefs, which then are, I don't even know what they are now. But like, it was always this kind of like understanding of like, there was always a part that like stood out to me in my reading like of the Bible. It was like, God is love, right? And I really took that as like a direct equation. So I maybe need to go back to the original translation, make sure that's exactly what it said or whatever. But like, so I would say love is the foundational piece for me. And to clarify that, because that sounds way too almost like Willy Foo at first, like almost like too flowery. But like but I actually don't mean that as like understanding what love is, and love is like sacrificial, painful. Like love is, to me, understanding love and figuring out what that is as I progress is literally the hardest, most difficult thing I've ever done in my life, right? So I do mean, of course, like the flowery aspect, but that's like easy, right? So it's easy to quote unquote love somebody when they're doing everything you like, right? Like how is it when someone's like literally done something
to piss you off?
Yeah, or even past that, like how do you still, like what does love exist like that? Or how do you still maintain this when this person is trying you? And you know what I'm saying? So for me, that foundational piece is love. And since my foundational piece like that, my house looks crazy. Because like I still am baffled by what that is and what that looks like. And every time I think I kind of got a grip on it, or I think I'm doing well in it, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't love these folks. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And even to the ideal aspect of like understanding, actually, especially in the last year or two, for certain personal reasons, I was like, oh man, I don't know if I love myself enough. You know what I'm saying? Because it's both infinite outward and infinite inward. So yeah, I would say that's my foundational piece, and that junk is hard. Hard.
Tell me about it. That's really truthful what you said about love and how really hard it is. You know, I think, you know, growing up, you know, no matter what family background you come from, like whenever you try to embrace that idea, it's really not easy, especially like if you really want to pursue like love in the honest, truest form, like to be able to give that to other people. Because I think, you know, in our culture, we hear that phrase so many times. I love you. I love chocolate cake. But like, do you really? Like, do you really love chocolate? Like you don't like. It's just like the sacrificial part. I think so many times people, you know, we want a microwaved type of result for every little thing in life, and you know, whether it be in like relationships or, you know, romantic relationships or, you know, stuff like that. Like, love takes time to develop. It takes time. It takes tears. It takes, you know, sometimes pain. But it's worth it at the end of the day. I feel like it's worth it to go through all those things, and it's not some frivolous thing that people, you know, say, but they, you know, people say it, but it's not one of those frivolous things that should be just thrown out there like it's, I don't know, a phrase or a hashtag that we, you know, can use as a trend, part of a trend.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And it's kind of like I said, I've been working and finding out. It's one of those things that the more I learn about, or I learn about it, the more I realize like I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, so for me, it's like I feel I invested my life on that. And once again, for clarification, this doesn't mean like once again I'm just the most always uplifting or whatever. Because I'm not even sure that's always.
I would have never assumed that.
Well, I don't know if that was hating on me.
No.
He's like, let me throw some shade at Piph.
I say that because like I think. Like sometimes, like, and I say that because I am, you know, I try to be a positive, uplifting person as well, and I think sometimes people have that assumption about me when behind the scenes, like, oh yeah, you're traveling to this place and that place, and you're doing awesome, you're having a great time in life, and you're just living your best life. But I'm just like, bro, I'm struggling. Like behind the scenes, I had to go to counseling, I had to do this and I had to do that to be able to earn that smile that I put on Facebook.
Dude, so it's funny, I was talking to someone yesterday, and I just met them, they were kind of saying like, when they first spoke, it was the second time I saw them, the first time they saw me, they figured I was like some type of like uplifting, like she thought I was like a Christian rapper or whatever. And I was just kind of like, and I knew exactly what she got there for. She's like, because you was just talking about how we can help this out, and you work with kids, and she's like, then I heard your music, and I was like, oh, he's not. And like, not at all. Not that she had to clean it up, like, not as like horrible. It was just the fact of, I was like, like, I think sometimes what gets confused is what you were saying is, I can completely exist in this first. I think what I'm trying to express is like ultra realism. And it's what gets skewed is because when you say words like love, and it is, I think, misused or so compartmentalized. People are like, oh, he's talking about this and this. Or if I say I talk to kids, it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, it's got to be like kind of uplifting. I'm like, man, I've been telling kids all the time, like, man, some of y'all probably gonna grow up and be trash, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, I speak real. And it's just kind of like, probably have to unpack that another time. But
y'all are trash kids.
Yeah, like y'all like you gonna turn around 10 years from now and be like, that dude told me this about me. You know what I'm saying?
Man, I hope one of those kids that you're talking to don't end up in a penitentiary. It's like, hey, Big Pip told me this 10 years ago. I'll be in a jail cell.
I told you right, because he didn't listen to me, obviously, right?
Yeah.
That's why I tell him, I'm like, hey man, like I see what you're doing, but keep it up, man.
That's true.
That's kind of I'm saying, like,
that is true.
Stats indicate
that is very
and
true.
I'm not calling anybody. I was like, and also these type of encounters behaviors indicate. So it's like what I'm saying is like, prove me wrong. I want you to prove me wrong, but understand, like, I'm trying to tell you ahead of time, like, be careful because you're locking yourself into options in a world, especially when I talk to like black students, you're locking yourself into a world that's not forgiving of you, right? Like, we're not, you know what I'm saying? Like, when I'm talking to underserved communities, like, I'm shooting real because this world don't love you. You just think it's fun and games right now. And you're gonna make one of these choices thinking it's like cool, and you're gonna be in this situation. So I'm letting you know, like, hey, like, don't, if it's be in the good part of the stat, and that's gonna be because of your choices. At hopefully, because even sometimes the game don't even love you when you make good choices. So it's just like, you know, you gotta be twice as good. You know what I'm saying? And this is going on a tangent. It was like, I remember, you know, like sometimes back in like grade school, you know, they'd be like, oh, you know, the white students would be like, oh, you're not like, you know, the typical racist comment. You're not like some of the other black people.
Oh,
you know, right?
I've gotten that before.
And then, but then also, like, what I always say is like, bro, you gotta understand, like, I'm not, like, you're trying to say I'm like you. Nah, I'm like way better than you. You know what I'm saying? like just like they basically proving the point. Like, I'm doing so well. I'm doing twice as well as you, which makes you think that we're equals. Which proving the point, right? I'm doing twice as hard, and twice as hard makes you think we're equals. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the inherent racism. It's like, nah, bro, like, understand. The reason you even think that is because I'm killing you. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like, but the world doesn't care. So I think when I'm saying those like blunt truths, even though it's like in a crass package, it's like, for real, like, this world does not love us. So, like, don't love it back, grind, and like, let's not give it an opportunity to like screw us over. You know what I'm saying? And I guess for me, like, that's some of the like tough love. I remember I did something dumb when I was young. My mom was about to let me get locked up, and my dad would come get me. And my mom was like, "Hey, you want to be a dumb black boy in these streets getting locked up? I was gonna let you do it." In my head, I was like, "Hey, mom, that's pretty drastic," because you know what I'm saying. But she pretty was like, "Hey, I'm not getting them. They let them go to jail." And my dad would come get me, and she was just like, "I love you, and you're about to get locked up, and this will be one a lesson you'll remember for the rest of your life." Once again. Luckily, my dad scooped me before, but it was like, you know, so it's very much so. My mom would be like, "That didn't happen." It did. It did. But it's very much so. She'll say to this day, she's like, "You would do sometimes ultra dumb stuff as a black male, stuff that's like twice as unforgiving." She's like, after a while, I was like, "I'm gonna let it catch you."
Wow. How old were you at that time?
Man, so I did a few dumb things, but I was probably like. That was young. That was like 13, 14, man.
Okay.
So I was about to get like
teenager.
Yeah, I was teenager.
He got his hormones in, testosterone.
Yeah, man. I was like kicking down doors and stealing stuff. Like, it was like one of those type things.
You too big for all that, man. You too big for all that. And like people, like, you know, like, they're already threatened by the fact that, you know, we have this skin, but the fact that you like 6 foot whatever.
So dude came out with like Rottweilers and shotguns, like chases all around. Like, I'm lucky we didn't get shot up, but he basically was like, you know, if someone comes and gets you before this time, I won't take you to like prison. And then my mom was like, take him.
And your mom, she had that tough love.
Yeah, once again, the key word, love. Like, I get it. And once again, though, I was like, hey, mom, you realize, like, she'll stand by to this day, like, you know, I was gonna let you get locked up because you was trying to be a dumb black boy in these streets in there. And my dad, once again, my dad was like, man, let me go get this boy.
That's funny, but I feel like that was a good lesson. That's a good lesson.
Right. I mean, I recited to this day of just the fact of it clicked in my head, like, something I thought was fun. So keep in mind, at the time, doing extremely well in school, saw my sisters going to college, saw my parents doing well, still in this world, I was choosing to do something dumb, and luckily, like once again, he had a shotgun. Luckily, he didn't shoot me.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
It could have been. Forget jail. You would have been dead.
Like, literally, I turned around and he had a double barrel and like 2 Rottweilers running ass, and it ended up just like wild chase. So like, luckily, you know what I'm saying. I didn't get shot, but even more so than that, it was like if I would have went to prison, I would have literally, arguably, like changed my whole trajectory in life because I thought it was gonna be fun to like rob this clubhouse on some like cool like they ain't gonna see us, you know what I'm saying? And so that's like when I talk to the students, it's like, you know, I think even Obama said it once. It's like Obama smoked weed, he just didn't get caught. Like if he would have got caught, like his whole trajectory.
Imagine if they had social media, IG live back in those days. There are so many politicians that would not be in the offices they're sitting in right now.
Right. And so just going back, like being a black male or a black female, you got to be even more careful because it's kind of like they're going to love to use that against you one day and be like, oh, but you did such and such, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
knowing meanwhile in their closet, they've done all types of stuff. I remember, well, I'm going tangent, but I remember one time, like, I was having a debate with a white friend, and he was just talking about, like, you know, some of the arrests that was going on in the neighborhood, and I was like, dude, we both come out the club, people both come out the club drinking and drunk. The cops are just at the black club. If they want to be at the white club arresting people, so of course you're gonna have more arrests over here. If that's you put all like the police. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's just kind of like, man, it's an imbalance. I mean, I'll go all day without that. So it's just like whatever, man.
Yeah. So for another day. Love. That's what it's all about.
Sure.
But yeah. So you know, we have this very last segment called Question of the Day, and this one's actually a 2-parter. Usually a 1-part. But anyways, one. I've actually never seen you, whether it be video or in person, without a hat.
Yeah.
Is there like a story behind it, or just like you love your hats, or you just love it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would like to say, I've had some of my homegirls verify it's not hatfish, right? It's not like I don't know if you heard, like, you know what I'm saying. It's not like I got a whole extra 7 head up in there, or whatever. Man, I just started wearing hats like literally like 15, 16.
Yeah.
And then I just been wearing them like ever since. So it's like every now and then I actually just ride around a hat, and almost every time I'm like, dude, this is the first time I've seen you without a hat. So yeah, man. I just
That's funny. But yeah, so the other question would be like, so say for instance, you were exiled for whatever reason from the U.S.
Sounds like fun.
He was like, my dream.
Exactly. I'm already with you. Like, for real.
I was waiting for an excuse. But if you were exiled from the U.S., what country would you live in for the rest of your life, and why?
Right. What country? So one comes to mind, and I'm not gonna say that because there's a whole nother story.
Okay.
But I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna go with like a possible second one.
Okay.
Right. I think. Country.
Yeah,
country.
Like any country in the world. Like where else would you like relocate to?
So because 3 come to mind. So like
okay, you can do top 3. That's cool.
Right. So 2 countries I visited before that I really enjoyed and want to revisit were South Africa and Japan.
Yeah, South Africa is beautiful.
Yeah. And so I don't want to choose a country. The only country because if I haven't been to a country, like I almost might be overestimating it, so that's kind of like I'm not thinking of one like that.
Okay.
However, if I chose one I hadn't been to, it would be New Zealand, and that's partially because it's like not that many people, and I could just like live off the grid easier. You know what I'm saying? So it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, it is.
Like almost surreal, you know what I'm saying, how it looks, and it's just not that densely populated. So I just be out there like chilling in a place and just never hear from me again.
Chilling in the cut.
Yeah, just never hear from me again. So man, one of them 3, 2 because I've been there before. The other one, if I have to choose a place, I don't know. I'd probably choose out there.
For me, it would be definitely UK. I love London so much. I studied abroad there.
For real.
Everybody speaks English, and it's just I love the accents. The ladies are beautiful, especially. I feel like if you had to rate a woman 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
Like that British accent adds like a point or 2 to.
For real.
Yeah.
Hey, so
that's just my opinion.
No, I got you, man. We got to have a whole nother debate. Like now that they open up the women's category,
it just adds another point or 2.
Because I definitely think about accents, and it's kind of like I can see it because it definitely just has a polish and a posh to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm probably like I probably have a slightly more affinity towards like West Indian accents.
Yeah, like the Caribbean.
Yeah, like Trinidad,
Barbados.
Yeah, exactly. right. So those I have like a little bit. Probably that's probably my favorite. We talking like accents.
Yeah.
That's probably like my arguably. Yeah. That because I got this like New Orleans women's accent where it's just like that.
No, but you're exiled from the U.S. Remember?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Unless you like imported.
New Orleans is a whole different. No,
I'm just kidding. We're kidding. They're just coming in on their own free will. So, anyways, that's
we're the South.
We went too far. All right. But anyways, thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast episode. Oh man, people are like, yeah, you're about to get canceled right now. But anyways, thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast episode. If you connected with anything here on this episode, be sure to connect with Big Piph on his social media. Where can they find you on Instagram, Twitter?
Yeah, everything's simple. BIGPIPH. Everything's Big Piph. BIGPIPH. Big
Piffin. That's what it is. That's what it's all about. So make sure you hit him up if you have any questions or need to book somebody, a speaker at one of your events. He's the man for that. So and again, also follow us at Speaker LYFE because life without your why is meaningless. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and also our social media as well. And again, we are growing our YouTube channel. We want you to be part of the Speaker Life family, and every subscriber is so important, and it will help the YouTube algorithm to be able to circulate the message that we are sending of purpose and trying to help people get closer to that with your like and your subscription. So anyways, thank you guys so much. We love you, and we'll see you in the next episode. Peace.
Good stuff, man.
We're clowning, man.